I'm just going to say it. I think the Illini are going to have one of the best offenses in the Big Ten next year.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday, new week here at Locked On Illini. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single day. Just a reminder, we're free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. My name is Sunny Verma. You can find me at IlliniCast. If you want to help support the show, it doesn't cost you a thing. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're here for you every single day. I hope you all enjoyed your weekend. I certainly did. A happy belated Father's Day weekend to those fathers out there listening. I appreciate you for tuning in. I got two little ones of myself, so I got to enjoy my Sunday a little bit. Thankfully, the weather around the Chicago area was very nice and warm. But if I'm going to be honest, it wasn't just the weather that had me in a good mood this particular weekend. It was the Terrence Shannon news and news that I feel like I couldn't really talk about on Friday, and that was the Zakari Franklin commitment to the football team. Now, this on any other day would have been the headlining news, but obviously with what Illini Nation was dealing with the Terrence Shannon trial, I felt like I didn't want to overshadow that, and I wanted to give that its proper spotlight. But I've been hinting at it for a while now. Ever since the show started, we've been waiting for this Franklin commitment, and to have it official via Friday has me pretty hyped up for the football season next year. Now, if you're an Illini fan and you're not familiar with who Zakari Franklin is, well, you should be. In 2021, Franklin and the UTSA Roadrunners came to Memorial Stadium and gave Illinois one of the more embarrassing losses of the Brett Bielema era. I believe the final score was 37-30, and Franklin absolutely made a show of himself. He had 10 catches for 155 yards and a touchdown as well. He was just one of those players where our staff had no way of stopping him. Now, we know this was when Barry Lunny Jr. was the UTSA offensive coordinator. Obviously, there's a relationship there. Now, last year, Franklin, for his what could have been his final college football season, decided to go down to transfer to Ole Miss. He played a game. He caught 4 passes for 38 touchdowns for Ole Miss in last year. But I think he kind of recognized, well, not only was he hurt, but that Ole Miss wide receiver room was pretty deep. And Zakari, who has aspirations to make it to the next level, the NFL, kind of read the tea leaves and decided to go ahead and redshirt the rest of the year, preserving what could be his final year in college football. So after that, once he declared for the transfer portal, all eyes were on Illinois. Again, with the relationship that he already had with Barry Lunny Jr., it just kind of made sense with Zakari, a guy who wants to make it to the next level. Why not join the offensive coordinator who has made you the wide receiver with the highest returning receiving yards in college football next? He came to visit a couple weeks back, but he left Champaign without a commit. So whispers started happening. And 2 weeks later, he started visiting Washington. Now, I talked to Roman, who's the host of Locked On Huskies, the Washington channel, and he told me that the Washington Huskies were very serious about trying to get Zakari Franklin to commit. Obviously, he left without a commitment there as well. You honestly did not hear anything, and that's from the Franklin camp, and I think that is by design, which is what I kind of talked about, because everyone I talked to, in particular on the NIL front, thought that this was a done deal. We just weren't sure what was happening. Now, there's rumors, whether it's an academic thing. Franklin needs to finish one more class at Ole Miss, which I think he's doing online. But once he's done with that, he'll be able to join the team in early August, I believe. And so, again, it's in his best interest to be able to hit the ground running, not learn a wide, not learn a brand new offense. Why not join a power two conference with a good quarterback, an up and coming running backs room, and what's considered a pretty decent offensive line this year? That's what Illinois has. And most importantly, what Illinois had to offer was a wide receiver one spot. Now, I talked about Pat Bryant just a couple days ago, how the arrows are pointing up for Bryant, especially every single year. He seems to be one of those guys who continues to get better. And last year, as wide receiver three, he had a great year. But it's a lot to ask of him to jump from wide receiver three to wide receiver one. Now, I'm very happy with the wide receiver talent that we have in that room. I think that room was arguably the worst room that we had in our locker room when Brett Bielema took over. And now, when you look at the talent that we've brought in, I think it's arguably one of our best rooms. But it's still green, and it still needs to prove itself on the field. Pat Bryant is your number one. Malik Elzy is your number two. Okay, I can see it, but I'm not sure. But you have Franklin as your number one. You have Bryant as your number two. Elzy as a number three. You have Hank Beatty as your slot. Okay, now I think we're cooking. And that's why I genuinely think that this Franklin commitment is one of the, I feel like I keep repeating myself, but, between JC Davis, Terrence Brooks, and now Franklin, Illinois is not getting much publicity for their transfer work this offseason. But I think what they're showing is that when the right talent is there, they're not hesitating. They'll go for it. Brett, Josh, Icon, they target folks, and they're not going to necessarily be outbeat just because of the perception of what might be with Illinois and their NIL game. They'll go for it. If they think you're worth it, they'll go for it. Terrence Brooks, he's an SEC cornerback. There were a lot of teams who wanted him. Zakari Franklin, as I said earlier, he's arguably the most decorated wide receiver coming back to college football next year. And you know where he's going to be playing? Champaign. That's a big deal. You know who else knows it's a big deal? It's Brett Bielema and Barry Lundy Jr. Brett released a statement on Sunday saying, Zakari is a dynamic wide receiver that will instantly impact our offense. We are excited to reunite Zakari and Barry Lundy after they had two highly productive seasons together in the past. And Barry Lundy Jr. added, Zakari is an accomplished football player with a lot ahead of him. He'll be a great addition to our offense and wide receivers room. Bottom line is what I've been saying for a while now is I'm actually genuinely excited to see the offensive side of the football next year in the Big Ten. Having said that, if I had to pick a position that I was somewhat worried about, it would have been the wide receiver position, not because of the lack of talent, but the lack of proven talent. And I believe that's what we've added with Franklin. Zakari Franklin is the one safety that Luke Altmaier will have this upcoming season, just to know that if there's one proven guy out there where, hey, I'm in trouble. Last year it was Casey Washington. We saw it in the Wake Forest game. We saw it in multiple other games. This year, I wasn't sure who that guy was going to be. But Zakari Franklin has those credentials. He's got the talent. He's proven it on the college football field. In fact, he's already proven it at Memorial Stadium. I think he's the guy, and I think he very reasonably has made me more optimistic on the season upcoming. We only had one scholarship available, and it seemed like we were waiting for a while to fill it, but it turns out it was by design. That scholarship was meant for Zakari Franklin, and now Zakari Franklin is an Illini. When you're hiring for a small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else. Even those who aren't actively searching for a new job might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking at the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Coleman Hawkins is a very rich man. Last week, he visited Manhattan, Kansas. Shortly after his visit ended, word spread out that he canceled his upcoming visit to LSU, and now we know why. Coleman Hawkins decided to go ahead and commit to Kansas State. Now, if you believe the reports that are out there, Coleman landed himself a $2 million NIL deal. I'm going to say that one more time, a $2 million NIL deal to sign with Kansas State. Now, a lot of folks were questioning whether Coleman made the right move, and hand up, I was one of them. When he decided to leave the NBA draft, and you saw a lot of the blue bloods, including Arkansas, including the University of North Carolina, deciding to not be in the Coleman sweepstakes, you kind of question whether Coleman coming back was the right move. If those blue bloods were not interested, then was the money going to be there? Well, Kansas State says, yeah, the money is here. And so Coleman Hawkins, congrats to you. He becomes, I believe, reportedly the most expensive player of the offseason. Now, I'm a Coleman guy, and I believe I've devoted 3 episodes of Locked On Illini to him, so I have no ill will towards him. Do I think that Coleman Hawkins is worth $2 million? Do I think Coleman Hawkins should be the most expensive player taken in the transfer portal? Probably not. I know a lot of Illinois fans are kind of upset that Coleman decided to come back to college basketball. Why isn't he coming back as an Illini? But folks, let's just be serious. If he's coming back for $2 million, Illinois essentially got 3 guys for one Coleman Hawkins. And I believe the ceiling for next year's team is quite high. The talent level on next year's roster, I've already said, I think is better than the talent level that we had coming into the previous season. So now, Coleman, again, I've tried to been clear about this. There is no expectations of Coleman Hawkins coming back to the Illini next year. And I talked about this. I wasn't sure if the audience here was open to listening to more Coleman Hawkins news. And this will probably be the last segment I dedicate to it, unless, of course, there's a Coleman Hawkins and Illinois game in, the tournament next year. And we know how the committee tends to work, that, they might try to line that up. But for now, we're going to sit here and, at least I'm going to support Coleman. I'm going to hope very much so that Coleman Hawkins decides to go 7-0 against Hunter Dickinson next year. Now, just remember, if Coleman had decided to stay in the NBA draft, more than likely he wasn't really being mock draft. So it looked like he was going to maybe at best get a 2-way contract, which would have made him roughly $600,000 a year if it wasn't guaranteed. Now, $600,000 is a very nice bag of coin, but Coleman comes back and he's essentially guaranteed himself $2 million next year. This is the world of college basketball now. Not just college basketball. This is the world of college athletics. Some will say it's for the better. Some will say it's for the worse. But you're going to see a lot of the top talent in college basketball who are not quite at the level where they're going to have successful careers at the NBA side come back to college basketball. And I think genuinely that's a benefit for the rest of us. That's going to be a benefit for those who enjoy college basketball. Again, I know a few people who are going to watch Coleman Hawkins and just have that $2 million price tag on their head and think about that. And that's going to ruin the college basketball experience for you. And if that's going to be the case, I'm sorry, but things aren't ever going to go back to the way that you want it to be. At this point, if you're going to continue to be a fan of college athletics, you've just got to accept what the new landscape looks like. Coleman Hawkins did it the right way. He was a pretty highly heralded freshman coming into Illinois, didn't play much his freshman year, reportedly butted heads with Brad Underwood. There was rumors about him transferring his sophomore year. There was rumors about him transferring his junior year. He never did. And ultimately, as a senior, he is leaving the program as one of the more decorated players that we've had in a very, very long time. I don't know if the University of Illinois is going to have another Coleman Hawkins type of player. And for that reason is why I devote these segments to a player who is no longer going to be in Illini. Now, having said that, this will probably be the last one. So Coleman, thank you for your services. I genuinely wish you the best of luck. The NBA Finals will potentially conclude on Monday. Just remember that the NBA Finals and more you can bet all on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet anything from the Finals MVP to who's going to hit one out of the park. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and add a big win to your summer bucket list. FanDuel, America's number one sportsbook. That's going to be it for today's episode of Locked On Illini. I'm looking forward to this week, actually, where I feel like we're going to have a lot of big news, in particular on the football front, but obviously on the basketball front as well, as we all kind of await to see what Will Riley ultimately decides to do. We are going to have a lot of Terrence Shannon talk now that the drama is over. Where does he fit in the NBA draft? Do publications that previously had him off their mock drafts all of a sudden now decide to include him now that a verdict has been reached? Should Terrence Shannon have his number retired? There's a lot of publications out there who are kind of talking about whether Josh Whitman's going to be willing to waive some of the rules that the University of Illinois has instilled for whether a player will get their jersey retired. So I'm going to have some thoughts on that later this week. If that's the type of content you're interested in, please do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button. I'm actually very much interested in doing some of these shows live so I can have some interaction with the folks. I see you guys in the comment section. I genuinely appreciate it. I like to hear what you guys think and what kind of things you guys are interested in. So until then, let me know what you guys want to watch this week. Just remember, this show is your show. You guys tell me what kind of content you want to see, and I'll make it happen on my side. I am nothing without my community, and I'm looking forward to continuing to help all of us grow. Until tomorrow, ILL. Love you guys.